Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Parker X. We had a nice long break for the holiday, but we're back in action. Today's episode is going to be with Brent Van Loggerenberg. Some of you may know him from Nguni Parking in Dallas, Texas. He kind of takes us through his history in the parking industry and what he's getting into today. Hope you enjoy. So this is Lester Mascon with Parker X, and today we're sitting with Brent Van Loggerenberg. Did I say it right?
That's pretty well butchered, but I'll give it to you.
I could just stick with Longhammer.
That's funny.
Thanks for coming on the show.
Pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good. Love your office here.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful view.
It doesn't stink.
No, it doesn't at all.
No, it's awesome.
So let's jump right in, man. So how long you been messing around in the parking world?
Man, so it kind of was a spin-off from me getting involved in an IT startup in Santa Barbara. I lived in Santa Barbara from early 2001 through till, man, when did we leave? It's about 6 years ago. So it's almost 13 years we've spent in Santa Barbara. I was with...
And you moved from South Africa?
Yes, almost directly. You spent about 6 months in Atlanta and then moved to Santa Barbara, and I was working for a startup then that got acquired by Citrix. So I was in the IT space, kind of in the tech space, and doing software as a service, pioneering that whole go to my PC, go to meeting product. Was
cool.
The founding company that we worked for there. And I joined actually some guys I used to work with there at Citrix Online was what it was called at the time. They'd spun off and started a small startup and wanted me to come over and head up sales and that for them. They built an access-based product that used the web to control access to specific points.
That was the WebKey, right? WebKey products?
The WebKey product. And
yeah.
So the people that are in the know about WebKey, I took what was our product at the time and we went over to a international fire and security trade show in Birmingham in the UK. We used to go every year. Our founder of the business was actually a Scot.
Okay.
So we used to go over every year to that IFSEC trade show, and we got approached by a big ski data client that's based in Birmingham. It's called the Bullring Shopping Centre.
Okay.
And they had like 27 pay stations, fully fledged, like cash and credit accepting pay stations.
Like
and
15 keys a piece or whatever the hell it is.
15 locks. Yeah, to manage every part of access into that building, into that machine, from its door to its cash vaults and all that sort of stuff. They needed like a handful of keys, every damn machine. And when they saw this product, they thought it was amazing because this key allowed you to obviously get programmed over the web. And so somebody could arrive at a pay station and be sent access to that pay station or sections of it independently and remotely. So they loved it. But through that introduction to that particular client, we sort of approached the manufacturer, Ski Data. Took a trip out to Salzburg, got to meet Robert Weisskopf and his team at that time. They loved the idea. We had to go back and do a full-blown presentation to the executive team, and they wanted to white label the product, and they came up with the name WebKey. And I did some roundtables with all of the distributors and that in Europe, and then got introduced after the fact to the US group.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
US was the slowest adopter. Surprise, surprise. I don't know why. So yeah, we got introduced to all the distributors at that point. I spent about 3 years with that group, and then was approached by Century Control Systems to come over there and work for them. So all in all, answer the question. The back history and back into parking is probably, since 2006, maybe 2005. So
okay.
A good 14, 15 years, something like that.
So what was the decision to move over from South Africa?
That's a pretty easy answer for most South Africans that are in America today. I was tired. Listen, when I was a kid growing up, I kind of had the initial idea that I wanted out. South Africa was great. It was a beautiful country, and obviously friends and family, the way of life, upbringing there was incredible. It still is. It's, I knew at the time that it wasn't a place I wanted to spend my whole life. I wanted more. I wanted to see more. I knew that, the world could probably have a little more to offer than what South Africa had.
You wanted the Starbucks and the Best Buy on every corner?
I'm not sure that would be the direct analogy, but, for sure I wanted to see at least what the world had to offer. So I went to the UK, after studies and that sort of thing. Growing up there, going to school and everything in South Africa was awesome, but then went to the UK to go and see what the UK had to offer, and knew, arriving there right off the plane in January didn't help. It was bitterly cold, and
then you ate the food, right?
And the food sucked. It was terrible. So no, that wasn't the reason, but I knew that the UK was probably not a place I wanted to live permanently. I had a great time, spent about 6 or 8 months there in the UK.
We ended up in Santa Barbara, of all places, right? That's
comparably a much better place to live in.
I would say so.
Yeah. So, and then, it was late 90s that I had my own business in South Africa. We were doing sort of engineering works and that for the mining sector. It was kind of just the nature of the business we were in at the time. And I'd always made plans and actually ended up studying to become a Microsoft software engineer there. Later on, before I came to the States, thinking I wanted to get into the IT space, but I knew very quickly that I was never going to be a networking engineer. So
I can just imagine if you designed my network.
Oh my God, it was not perfectly suited for my personality. Anyway, the States was definitely on the cards, and at the time, I came out and stayed with a girlfriend who had a young uncle that was staying in Charleston, South Carolina. And let me just say, Charleston, South Carolina sold me on America. Flat out sold me. I was like 23 years old and spent 6 months there, and I knew this is where I wanted to live. So about a year and a half later, I'd moved over, and that's the back history.
So you were married at that point already? Or?
No. So brought my new girlfriend at the time, South African girl, over with me, and she's now my wife. We have a couple of kids together. But we arrived here as, just a dating couple at the time, and on vacation. Did all our visas and everything while we were over here to be able to work, and I actually opened up a subsidiary of my business in South Africa in order to be able to work out here initially, and contracted my way through that. Long story short, Santa Barbara was on the cards. My wife's or my girlfriend at the time, she's the one that landed the job in Santa Barbara. Thank you, Tia.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it was a good 13 years to have spent out there in that beautiful place. So that's what got us out to Santa Barbara, and forward 19 years. It's crazy.
So how long were you over at Century?
I was just trying to think about that. I think it was about 4 years. 4 years? Just over 4 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then now, so what are you into now?
So I try to get out of this proverbial parking industry.
For a minute there.
Maybe about 6 months or so. My family, we had an opportunity for my wife to, again, a reason we moved to Dallas. She had been approached by good friends of ours who had a family business, a big property management company that were trying to dovetail over into becoming a property developer here in Dallas. They had systematically been assembling some pretty, well-positioned land in a up-and-coming area here called Bishop Arts. And he approached my wife, who had worked with him on his house in Santa Barbara. She was an architect, or still is, I guess, to come out here and help them with their development side of the business, and made her a pretty good offer, and it just happened to coincide with a time in my life where I was looking for change, and went back into the tech space, joined a software company, and I probably reached the point in my life where I realized I'm damn close to being unemployable directly, and need to maybe think about going back to that entrepreneurial blood that runs in my veins and start something on my own, because after 6 months or so here in Dallas, just looking around with the knowledge I'd gained in the space, in the parking industry,
big opportunity.
It was a huge opportunity. These guys in this particular market is extremely, backwards with regards to technology and how,
it's not a mature parking market for sure.
Not even by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. So it looked like a big tidal wave of opportunity to get back involved in parking, to introduce what I'd already learned and new stuff to an unseasoned market, and being able to sort of, give me an opportunity to get back into my own business and be able to manage that. And so I started, 2 businesses, one focused on selling parking systems and guidance and that sort of thing, and whatever came my way would made sense for this particular market. And then I also started an independent command center to provide 24/7 remote monitoring and support for clients running facilities and that remotely, that don't, maybe not large enough that would justify the incumbent operator to be running it, was kind of my strategy initially, and just trying to do things a little differently.
So tell me about that. So what do you think of as doing it differently, and like what do you bring into?
it's a very personalized service we offer. We sit down, we spend a lot of time with our clients ahead of, going live and managing their facility. And we like to look at ourselves as a direct extension of their management team and their approach to how they manage their tenants and their daily parkers.
Mm-hmm.
My team has live views in drive lanes, they greet guests, in a very personal manner. We're always logged into the particular location that we're managing, so that whenever we get calls, whether it's from pay stations or the drive lanes, we have an immediate response capability to whatever the need might be out in the drive lane, and done in a very personal manner. It's, I've got no bag to offer on any issue with, call centers in general, but when you grow and scale to a point where you're incapable of being very personally focused on locations. And, I have enough experience in the industry that I thought, I could maybe just try and do it a little differently. And, so far it's been pretty successful with the clients we've had.
Yeah, I think having the call center right here in Dallas, and then being able to have your people that are in the call center know those buildings and know the tenants,
Yep.
haven't met them and all that, I think it definitely brings a personal touch and value to it. But how would you scale something like that?
Obviously there's no reason why we couldn't scale rapidly if needed. I foresee a day where being an independent command center, obviously I've got no ties to any equipment or
Sure.
anything. So I foresee a day where what I would do is try and maintain a certain level of personalization. So I'd always want to do a lot of deep diving that with clients that are interested in us going and taking over their management, and then put rules and policies in place that allow us to still maintain those types of live response capabilities at those locations. Look, there are some technology limits your ability to be able to do that. So legacy-based equipment or systems that may be in place may mitigate my ability to be able to be that type of command center or responsive to the immediate needs of parkers in their drive lane by looking up transactions in real time and all that sort of thing. So there are some limitations, and I'm pretty picky about who I take on, and it's not necessarily only about who and where, but the technology needs to be able to support this level of service and
Sure.
just the way we approach things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're not looking to have 10,000 locations in Dallas by the end of the...
No, it's probably not the way we want to grow. But growth is obviously necessary, and we're always looking at expansion. We support location in DC and a few other locations around this geo, and it's been an attractive approach to our clients, and I just like the opportunity to be able to try and diversify and get out into other markets.
Are you focused primarily on Class A office, or?
Initially, that's been our focus. Being able to get this message across to clients and have them better understand what the value is behind doing it this way. You typically want to be dealing with the owner and having them understand why they're making this difference. Management companies, I love them. They are often under a management agreement, and their services they deliver, they always want to elevate that service. So I want to be able to educate and have them better understand where this could take them. It's just a deeper dive you've got to do with them in order for them to be able to re-articulate that to their ownership teams about why they're making a switch or thinking about making a switch to an alternative independent command center.
So you're operating a command center.
Yeah.
You've sold equipment in the past. You've been in the tech space in the past. You're selling equipment today as an individual service. So it's really interesting. It gives you a really interesting outlook. So what's missing out there today?
It's a good question.
You wish existed, and where do you think it's heading?
It's a very good question. Coming from the tech space, it was astounding to me just how backwards the parking industry was technologically. But I guess
still not quite there yet.
It's not quite there yet. So there's a lot of really good tech out there that I think could very easily get adopted into this parking industry. Everything from voice and facial recognition. You start talking about credentials for access and that sort of thing. There's no reason for people to be carrying. I know everyone carries a mobile phone around, but it could traverse over into facial recognition at entry, and that combined with voice or something like that. It's a really superb alternative to think about and where we go, because irregardless of where you go, if becomes a ubiquitous deployment for an access alternative at no matter who the system provider is.
Mm-hmm.
it would require us partnering with a really big, entity, Google or the equivalent thereof, to provide that type of capability in our drive lanes. But I think it sort of transforms the way that we could look at managing access and who gets in and who gets out and how they pay, and that then immediately filters over to that individual's, registered paid accounts and all that sort of thing. So you don't have to necessarily have the app; you just have to have an account set up, and I don't know. I think it'll be a nice little transition.
I've done it in hotels recently where you don't even stop at the front desk anymore. You can just go straight to your room. It's kind of nice.
And you've got to believe, our other markets like airports and home security and that sort of thing, homeland security.
Yeah,
they're already doing this.
Yeah,
you're getting identified. You look at other countries that have don't have the kind of laws that we have. That the UK is a good example. They get CCTV is being used everywhere, and if you get a solid back end system, and that, you got to believe that identifying individuals wherever they may be is very easy for them to do. And if you focus that specifically on access for ingress and egress control to facilities and payment for parking, it seems like a very easy transition over into that type of tech.
So is that where you think it's heading?
It's a part of it.
Because we got this whole driverless car thing that everyone likes to talk about. But
listen, it's for sure. Obviously, the driverless and obviously electric vehicles and the autonomous vehicles in some shape or form it's a definitive yes, it's happening and it will happen. There's always debate on how long it's going to take, and I watched a very interesting podcast.
I think it's how long till it's at scale.
Yeah,
that's really it's happening. It's going to happen. It'll probably be very available next 5 years, something like that. But before it's actually at scale and something we actually have to accommodate.
I'd look at it as opportunity. A lot of people are concerned about how that's going to negatively affect parking and the revenue associated with it, and demand on it, which will drive down parking costs. And you just got to believe, like with anything, any new significant change to the way we do things today always presents new opportunity. You have to be nimble enough to approach it with open eyes and understand where these opportunities lay and go after them ahead of time, so that it presents a more seamless way for you to be able to accommodate those vehicles. I mean, autonomous cars can't plug themselves in. They have to pull up and do some sort of power by proxy or pull over a charging pad, and there's revenue associated with that opportunity. Making that available to the market to be able to identify that your garage has that capability is a good example of where we can make sure we try and maintain that.
I think trying to figure out a way for the car to be able to communicate directly with the parking facility as well.
Yeah, in every shape or form. So
payment, negotiate payment, be told where to go park, everything.
And obviously the car, in conjunction with, it's always going to need to know the destination. We know our destination by heart. We don't need get navigation to the places we go to regularly. But when you're plugging it in, because the car has to have that in as a destination, so you're going to verbally communicate to your autonomous vehicle, I need, work, or I'm going to following destination.
Yeah.
The car then should be automatically looking up, where's the most convenient place to park? I'm running low on charge. I need to charge while I'm waiting for this individual, or if I'm going out to pick up somebody else, if it's a shared ride of some sorts, like an Uber or something. There's a lot of negotiating going on in the background with that device, and we just need to make sure that the technology running your facility has the ability to be able to accommodate that down the road. And that could happen in 5 years, could happen in 10 years. Point is, we know that systems that are out there today typically don't have the ability to do any of this today. Most of them, anyway.
It's interesting too. You talk about that in the same breath. We just left a facility that had people still in booths.
That's crazy.
Managing it.
It talks to my tidal wave analogy of Dallas.
There's
so
and
much.
The attendant was out smoking a cigarette in front, so he put the gates up while he was out there.
It's an incredible look. Certain markets, that are not entrenched like this one is.
We did Vegas, right?
Yeah. Look at Vegas. I mean, you never used to charge for parking.
Yeah, it was free.
What are they making out of parking in Vegas now?
It's a ridiculous number.
It's crazy.
Lots of commas in it.
Yeah, exactly. So this speaks to opportunity. It's all about just being nimble and being able to recognize the opportunity where it lays and go after it.
Yeah, I think you're in a good spot here. It's a good place to bring some
Dallas
new voice.
It's a substantial mecca that's growing so rapidly. I think there's 2 of the top 5 fastest growing cities in the country or in our immediate vicinity up here. So Frisco and Plano, there's 2. That's Dallas North. But we're also seeing this massive regentrification of the downtown area. Lots of, right next to us, right here is a building that's going up. It's 46 stories, high-rise, apartment complex.
That's crazy.
High-end. I look around and the buildings we have in my view right here, there's a lot of new buildings that have gone up here just in the short term, the 6 years that I've been in Dallas.
And I see like 4 cranes. So
it's a national bird.
Oh, more than that.
Well, it's a state bird here in Texas.
Yeah, no shit.
Crane. No, yeah, it's growing crazy. I've heard statistics. There's 100,000 new registered residents in the Dallas metro, and that every single year. So it's every month. It's about a million new residents that are coming into this area a year, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Maybe it's a year. Anyway, but regardless, it's
That's
a massive
amazing.
number. I mean, you just look at the amount of Californians. I happen to be one of them that have
Yeah.
moved here. Look, it doesn't hurt the fact there's no state income tax. Property prices are half of what they are in California, at least California coastal. So it's a good place.
Yeah, I had a friend buy a place out here. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing what he got
Yeah.
for what he sold his place for.
Look, they're going to get you somewhere. The taxes here are pretty high, so
Property tax.
property taxes. Are,
Yeah.
it's more the equivalent to what you'd pay in California for half-priced house,
Yeah.
So-
Or less than half. I think
or
it was-
less than half. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good
Crazy.
stuff. So, what should people contact you for here in this area?
It's a good question. I think anybody that may be interested in just looking at an alternative way to, manage their clients, manage their facility, and not get stuck in, the proverbial bundle, and just want to look at an alternative, or at least be educated about what an alternative way to look at things and how to manage their facilities. Happy to have that conversation. Happy to talk about it. It has obviously been a learning curve for me, and I've learned a lot of things along the way. Putting superb technology in the ground is a really good way for you to, have the data. I'm all about the big data, and having the big data to be able to analyze your utilization of your property is, without the data, you're making, algebraic, decisions on how far you'd like to oversell your garage and all that sort of thing. When if you have empirical data to be able to do that, it allows you a lot more creativity when thinking about growth or expansion, or maybe a new lease negotiation with a tenant coming into a building, or a renegotiation of an existing tenant that needs more parking. When you look at what their at peak utilization looks like in that particular garage, I spend a lot of time on that sort of thing with our clients. So anyone that might be interested in better understanding the value there, I'd love to have that
Collecting and
conversation.
managing data on the facility versus
Exactly, and
having
it
a guy
comes with
walking
putting
around.
good technology in the ground. And
It does seem like there's a squeeze coming, right, from the owner side and then from the technology side, where the operator you have to kind of
owners are becoming more. Owners are becoming more educated on what's
Yeah.
possible. This whole concept of internet age and everything going out and being out there in the cloud allows access, and them having access allows them to better understand operationally what's going on in their facility. And, understanding that and being able to sort of make those decisions based on the data you have is really where this is all transitioning. So, yeah, it's definitely a fast-moving needle. It's
big data.
big data, baby.
Cool. Well, what's the best way to reach you?
Email me. My command center email address, BrentVL@remoteCommandUSA.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
The name kind of says it all.
I know, Brent V. Victor Larry. That's me.
Cool. Thanks,
I appreciate it, buddy.
man. Yeah,
Thanks
it's
for
fun.
having me.
Yeah,
Always good to catch up with you.
always.
Thanks, buddy. Talk to you.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to the podcast. Having a great time doing this. If you're enjoying it, if you're getting value from it, please leave some feedback. Please subscribe. There's a lot of people listening, not as many subscribers. So if you could subscribe, comment, and share it. Please share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Tell your mom. Tell your dad. Tell everyone. Thanks.